Hey gang, Ken Michaels here, host of the Beatles syndicated radio show Every Little Thing. I'm also the co-host of two Beatles talk show podcasts you might be familiar with, Things We Said Today and Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast. And right now you've got it tuned to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast with my buddies Andy Nichols and Tom Hunyadi. Hey guys, if you ever need a third leg, just saying.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 256 of Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, and we're back from the fest. We're recording an episode for the first time in quite some time. I'm Tom Hunyadi. You may know me from my other show, Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast, and I am joined by my partner in crime, a backwards traveler. He is Mr. Andy Nichols. Andy, my friend, I'm still recovering a little bit. I don't know about you, but
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I am. And we're back doing a proper episode, which feels like the first time in God knows how long since we've actually done one of these, between the lives and getting our Broad Street panel discussion posted, which we did. And we're so glad to be able to do that and record that at the fest. And we've gotten some good feedback just dropping that. So we're back to do a proper episode, and not about Paul this time either, but good to be here.
Not about Paul, like you said. Every once in a while, we'll jump out of our Paulie trousers and we'll then venture into another one of the camps. And this time, we're going to venture into John Lennon. Look, we're both not only are we Paul fans, but we're both Lennon fans as well. So today we're going to take a look at the Mind Games box set. Here it is, folks. Andy's got it in his hands as well. He's got the cube somewhere behind him or somewhere in the house. Yeah, and you got the book behind you as well, the one that comes out in September, because that came in with the Cube as well, which you showed while you were live.
Yes. Yeah, it did, and it's a little bit in the Thames and Hudson book, comes out in September, and been reviewing that. I finished the proper book that came with the box set just before we left for the fest, and ready to dive in and kind of give us give you guys our thoughts as McCartney-centric podcasters, what our takes are, on this particular box set, the latest, the third in the series since this started up in 2018 with Imagine, then followed by Plastic Ono Band in 2021. And clearly Sean has been busy these last 3 years cooking up everything that isn't inside and putting it into this ultimate mix set and cube and everything with it. So
right. I mean, we're recording on August 14th, right? And then just today they announced the meditation mixes. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, and there's going to be more now. Meditation mixes on vinyl. I'm not getting that. I'm going to skip that.
Yeah. I'm skipping that one. I mean, I have no use for that at the moment. No. But hey, listen, if anybody out there wants to check it out, have at it, and hopefully you'll like it. But that's definitely not going to be for us, but yeah, we wanted to record this show sooner, but unfortunately schedules lately for Andy and I, they kind of been quite a been a challenge as of late, but here we are. So Andy, where is Mind Games in your if you were to rank Mind Games in the John Lennon canon, where would you put it?
Numero uno.
Yes, this is your number one favorite. Well,
yes.
I mean, you love rock and roll music as well.
It's like 1A and 1B. It's like 1 and A, but like in terms of original music, yeah.
Right.
Original compositions, yeah. This is number one. I would say 1A and 1B between this and rock and roll. Everybody's praising it. I felt that way 30 years ago when I first heard it. So, again, another case of like with Ram and everything else, jump on board, people. Been saying it for decades. So, I've always loved it. Where has it been for you? Middle of the road?
Yeah, that's just the thing. It's just like I recognize how great Plastic Ono Band is and Imagine is, but I tend to lately been wanting to hear the tracks from Mind Games. more frequently than the stuff from Plastic Ono Band and Imagine. So I would probably have it 3 as of right now, but then when when Walls and Bridges comes out, maybe that might change. But it's definitely a more enjoyable listen, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that. It's definitely the re-listen, ability on this one is far proceed far
exceeds because Plastic
exceeds.
Ono
Thank you.
Band,
Yeah,
you
thank
have
you.
to be you have to be in a different place to listen to. You can't just throw Plastic Ono Band on a sunny Wednesday afternoon and listen to it, because you have to, because it's such a personal, dark, intense listening experience where a lot of the songs on Mind Games were written from a pop point of view, to varying degrees of success with some of those songs. But definitely a much lighter affair, especially coming after the backlash of Sometime in New York City and everything with that. And we'll get into that as we dig into this episode with what's in the box and how it's presented and things like that. Because I have some thoughts on that. I mean, I think they did the best job they could, but we'll get through that as we kind of dive through it. But Phil, just the one little quick Paul news item. He announced a new touring date in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, yes.
Yeah, so another date added.
The ever expanding the non-U.S. tour, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But because he's not doing any dates here in the U.S. But I'm happy for people, South America, Europe. That's great. Go see Paulie if you can.
Yep. I'm sure some of those fans on the run that we met in Chicago and friends of ours and friends of the show, they'll be there. I'm sure they'll be there. And obviously, since we've done a proper show, we've got the announcement of One Hand Clapping, the film, coming out in September on the 26th.
Absolutely. But no theaters have been announced yet. The whereabouts, we still don't know.
No tickets go on sale as of this recording.
This
Friday. This Friday.
Yeah.
So that kind of all dropped while we were getting ready for the fest and all that stuff. Just as I think we were getting there, that got announced. So you got One Hand Clapping coming out. But from what we hear from our friends is that I don't think it's going to be crazily restored. I mean, Adrian doesn't think it will be.
Audio-wise, yes.
It will be, but it's not going to be any kind of crazy restoration because, as we talked about, it was shot on tape and U-matic tape, and you just can't. There's no real way to really do that. So.
Excellent. All right. So, Andy, you've had time now to process the Mind Games box set. You did listen to the vinyl, correct? You really didn't listen to the CDs, or did you stream it as well, or what?
Well, while I was away on vacation in Italy, I streamed it. Pretty much the whole time I streamed it, and then when I got home, then I was able to dig into the vinyl and play all the vinyl,
nice.
all of them in there, and that was enjoyable to do that too. Very impressed. It's the reason I went for the Cube, because I wanted all the music on vinyl. The flag, the posters, all the games, all the little puzzles and knickknacks in there, okay. But if that's what it took for me to have it on vinyl, I didn't mind doing it. And it's a collector's piece, so that's why I did it.
Yeah, Ultimate, Evolution, Elemental, Raw, all of that stuff. So you had to get, but there was a regular vinyl version with a second vinyl with a mishmash of stuff that was in there.
Right, and that is, as I understood it, the only configuration on vinyl that you can get outside of the Cube, right?
Yeah.
Right. Do you have any interest in getting? Are you going to get that or no?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
Maybe one day, if I'm just in the record store and I see it, I may grab it. Absolutely. But right now, the CD is and the Blu-ray, because that's what I really dealt with listening was the Blu-ray. So so I threw that in. I put on my Bose headphones, and then I was off. And I was off. Really enjoyed it. So I guess so. Then let's start with the ultimate mixes.
Sure.
I mean, this is Sean Ono Lennon. He's been working with Peter Hicks, I believe, on these new mixes, and doing a fantastic job. I was really blown away with the first two. Not really going to mention "Give Me Some Truth."
Paul Hicks.
Thank you, Paul Hicks. Thank you. We don't need to mention "Give Me Some Truth," although there was some stuff that will come out in the future. But first two box sets, Andy, fantastic. I mean, this could be the gold standard for me. When these box sets come out, which I don't know if we're going to get any more from Paul, but George, we're still hopeful. Although George didn't, the George route didn't go this route with these mixes with All Things Must Pass. I doubt that the camp will go this route for the future box sets if they do release any. But for now, we got these mixes for the Lennon camp. How do you feel about just the mixes as whole? I mean, do you think they went in the right direction with this?
Yeah, I think they did. Obviously, Sean's intention from day one was to bring John's vocal to the forefront, and he's done that with this release and the other ones too. But this one especially, if I had a couple of words to choose to describe the ultimate mix, I'd say dry and clear. That's the one thing. It's very dry and clear. It's a little bit different than the 2002 remix, and Andrew and Parlogram did a great kind of wave demonstration of the two. It's still the go-to mix for me. This is going to be the go-to mix for me for sure, because everything is just up. Like everything else these days, bass and drum is way up. And separation of instruments is just very clear. John's voice being the forefront, and vocals. So
this is going to take over for the 2002 mix then?
Hands down, yes. Easily.
Okay.
Easily, because it's just because everything is so much more clear in the instrumentation, the playing, and it was good, but it's even better now. You see,
everything is clearer in our ears. Right. But I know that's not how the lyric goes. But
everything is clear in our world.
Yeah, exactly, and our ears with these box sets. But okay, so yeah, the mix, the ultimate mix. I tend to agree with you. I mean, the separation with the instruments, especially when I had the headphones on, you really got a feel for the mastery of the musicianship. Some fantastic musicians on this album, right? Keltner, Spinoza, Ken Asher, so many other
Gordon Edwards.
Gordon Edwards. Thank you. The something different. The backing vocals. Not Jerry Murata's, but his brother Rick Murata. Yeah, is on here as well.
Michael Brecker on sax, and we'll get to the sax because the sax was omitted in a lot of spots, and that I have a little bit of pride. I don't like the fact that the sax was taken out of at the end of One Day at a Time, or like the little tape effect at the end of Asimisen taken out.
Right.
Early people would have heard this talked about that. Yeah. I don't like those changes to what John originally did. If you want to enhance the music and the production of it, and you want to make it clearer, but don't change what his vision for the song was.
I get that. I 100% get that. I agree with you totally. I don't necessarily think that it's his father. I get it. Sean feels he knows this music better than any of us. I guess that's the case. But as long as we do have the original, like that 2002 it's still there. We'll still go back and hear it.
It's the argument I have with I Am the Walrus, which I like.
Right.
But I think with John, because he's not here, it's a little more liberty was taken with this one versus there's so many different versions of I Am the Walrus. Right. You've got original mono, original stereo. 87, 09, like you've got six or seven different ways to hear the original I Am the Walrus. Things like One Day at a Time, not really as much.
That's the other question too, is how would John, take these box sets? Would he eventually do a box set like this? Would he make changes? We know that he never liked his voice. Would he finally appreciate his vocals?
Probably, because at the end of his life, he said he wanted to re-record everything because over again, and with modern technology. So, and he was specifically talking about the Beatles music, but I think definitely you can include his own solo stuff too. He always wanted to change that and tweak it. Always.
Right. I get you. So you're quite happy then with the ultimate mixes. I mean, obviously, with Intuition at the end, the sax is very low in the mix. You do hear it. I did hear it with the headphones on, and then obviously the One Day at a Time, the sax solo was pretty much completely wiped out of that.
Certain little nuances in other songs on the ultimate mix that you didn't hear, like on Tight As, you hear a lot more twangy guitar that you never really heard before. That was clearly evident now. There was much more. And Tight As is not one of my favorite songs on the album. It's not.
Really?
It's a filler track for
me. Even though he really didn't rock out as much, you feel like this one isn't like one of his better tracks.
No, I mean, Meat City can kick this song to the curb. Meat City's a rocker. Tight As is kind of like a rockabilly song, and I think
Yeah, it is.
Chip Madinger felt the same way. But to hear the extra guitar twangy stuff going on in Tight Ass
Yeah.
now in this new mix, that's what we love about the hearing. Oh, for 50 years we never heard that little guitar part. Going even with the Beatles stuff, you hear it now. So when this music is given this treatment with this modern technology, music that was recorded 50 years ago, you're like, oh, where was that hidden? So things like that, even though I don't love Tight Ass, I appreciate hearing new things in it that I never did. So things like that. Asima Sen, I mean, the bass on Lucy in my ears sounds a lot more brighter in here and punchier.
Mm-hmm.
Bring on the Lucy is definitely, it's one of my favorite tracks on the whole album of Lennon songs, period.
Right.
Another highlight too is the end of Only People. You've got an extra little bit of lyrics there where he's singing Every Day's a Sunday. That was that you never heard that before. So you have that now on the official version. So I guess it's a little bit of a give and take, right? Sean took some stuff away, but now he gave you some stuff too. Like you're hearing, you're hearing another 10 seconds of scant vocals at the end of Only People or things like that. So it's a happy medium.
Yeah, I get it. And you know what I've really taken away from this is too, like I've always enjoyed his softer vocals, stuff like I know, Intuition, One Day at a Time, Out the Blue, You Are Here. I mean, I really come to, well, I've always appreciated those softer vocals of him, but with these mixes, they really just come through for me, and I really, really dig. And as much as I want him to rock out, it's these softer songs that I really look forward to hear.
There's a certain I think there's a certain crew of fans out there that think that Yoko tamed John Lennon in terms of how he wrote and performed. And if you ascribe to that theory, then Mind Games is pretty true to that because a lot of the songs are very mellow and chill.
Right.
Obviously, there's some rock, and throughout his catalog. I mean, look at Imagine, soft, tender album. Plastic Ono Band is Primal Scream. Okay, Sometime in New York City is a New York City local bar band, Elephant's Memory. Good, dirty rock and roll band. Okay, but and he's rocking out in some of that stuff. But he generally, I mean, and Walls and Bridges has some great rockers too. But there's some soft ballads on there too.
Absolutely.
There are some people that believe that she definitely did. I don't believe it. I don't believe that one way or the other. It was John's choice to write these songs, and he wrote them that way. So, and they're great. And then you often said that, Tom, that John doesn't really rock out as much. But I think it's okay because you've got some great music on this record.
Oh, I definitely agree with you right there. I mean, I have no problem if he wants to sing more ballads than sing more rockers. He's one of the greatest ballad, ballad lyricists in the world, ever of all time, in my opinion. So right on. I'll take him. The
Ultimate Mix as a whole, I'm very pleased with it. There's nothing. Again, I wouldn't skip anything. It's just more, again, it's just drier and clearer to my ears, but being up and brought up at the same time. I don't want to say sterile because sterile has a negative connotation to it, but it's just drier and clearer and not as punchier as I thought it would be. Like when we got Give Me Some Truth in 2020, a lot of those tracks were radically different. This treatment just seems to be brought down just a little bit of a step in terms of what they did to apply this, these techniques with kind of remixing this stuff.
Yeah, because really there's nothing hidden. There's nothing really hidden, right? I mean, there's not like they recorded it and then when they mixed it, they mixed something down. I mean, pretty much everything that was recorded was pretty much there. I don't think there was a lot that was hidden in the original mixes. So
it was very dense. It was very dense. John's production of it was and this is the only time. And as our friends at Things We Said Today said, this is the only time John really, truly was behind the chair producing the record solely, even though Phil was there for Plastic Ono Band, but not really. I mean, but Phil kind of came in at the last minute and just looked it over. But Phil had no connection to this record at all. This was clearly just produced by John Lennon by himself. And, this is why a lot of people have thought, because John wanted to work quick. I don't care if this is how it sounds right now. I want to be done with it and move on. So in hindsight, 50 years later, modern technology, we have what we have now with this box set, and all the fans can enjoy it now.
Great. All right. In the comment section, let us know what you think of the ultimate mixes. Do you enjoy this one better, or are you going to stick with the 2002 release? Okay, let's get with the Evolution.
Discs 2 and 3,
This, yeah,
Element and Elementals, right?
right. Yeah, I look at it as on the Blu-ray. When you put the Blu-ray in, there's two Blu-rays. You get the first three mixes. You get the Ultimate, you get the Evolution, and the Elemental. Second Blu-ray, you get the Raw, the Elements, and the Outtakes. So
you're looking at the Blu-ray. I'm looking at it through the way it was on the CD box, the CD set,
right,
and the vinyl.
right. Yeah, let's do Evolution. So, no, I'm sorry, Evolution, right? Or where am I? I got Elemental mixes. Okay, how about that?
Yeah,
I
had Elemental
yeah.
and Elements next.
Okay, Elemental. For me, right off the bat, you talked about rockabilly for Tight Ass. You really get a little bit more of that rockabilly in Tight Ass, in my opinion. And then Asama-san, Sneaky Pete. Fantastic. John Lennon acoustic. So you're just hearing those in there. My favorite throughout the whole box set is You Are Here. And then this is it's definitely the 11-minute or 10 minutes hidden track of that too.
Yeah.
For me is the best hidden track as well. You Are Here, so you got the acoustic, you got Spinoza, Sneaky Pete, and Lennon's voice. What a combination. So there's some really cool configurations of how they just put certain instruments in with John's voice. Really cool. I like this disc.
Elemental, yes. So out of the Elemental and Elements, they are my least favorite in the set, but the Elementals are the ones I like more.
Okay.
John's voice is in it with hearing the other instruments in it. You're still getting a vocal track. And Mind Games is one of his best songs ever. So to hear that in a different way with just sparse instrumentation chosen by the team. Sam, and that was also Sam Gannon as well too, was part of this, and Rob Stevens, who's been the kind of the curator of everything for Yoko for a long time. The Elemental stuff I like, but the Elemental and the Elements stuff in this set is something I'm not going to revisit too often though, because I get so much joy out of the other discs that are in here. They're good for a cursory listen. If you're in the mood to listen to the album or the box set, you want to listen. If I want to listen to it from start to finish, I will put the Elemental and the Elements on. But I'm not going to go and seek out the Elements version of Out the Blue. I think the You Are Here is great, that you mentioned, and we got that on the Record Store Day version. So I enjoy it because it's a different listening experience. Some people have said it's just Sean playing games with what tracks he wants to just include into it, and that's his choice. That's his choice. If he wants to do that, he's choosing to present that mix of a song to us in that form. We'll take it, and I enjoy it for what it is. I won't listen to it a whole lot though, outside of listening to the set, from start to finish. But it's a different listening experience to hear something different. The three girls backing vocals just by themselves, especially on "Bring On the Lucy," because they're on a lot of tracks on Mind Games. I agree with Chip Mattinger. I find them to be a little bit distracting, although what's one of the best things I love about the book is reading their take and their input on what they had to say. But they really work best on "Bring On the Lucy," in my opinion. In the other songs, they sound a little bit too much for me. But you can hear them by themselves in something unlike the Elemental and the Elements mixes, which I really
Let me go back and rephrase what I said. The Blu-ray had the Ultimate, the Elemental, and the Elements, and then disc 2 of the Blu-ray had the Evolution, Raw, and the Outtakes. So I just want to make sure I get that.
Thought that was the right order. Okay.
Yeah. So the Elements. Now I got to tell you what. If you're an aspiring musician, I mean, this was, I think, the one you want to listen to, especially if you're a bass player. Gordon Edwards on One Day at a Time.
Yep.
Bring On the Lucy, like you said. Bring On the Lucy. You get Rick Marotta, Gordon Edwards, and something different. Holy moly! This one was fantastic. Out the Blue, you get John and Ken on piano. Beautiful. You Are Here. You get Sneaky Pete with that steel pedal guitar. And I mean, for me, I really like this one too. Ken Asher's organ on Mind Games.
Yep. That's one of the ones I enjoy with the Elements. Is hearing you just put the elements on, and all of a sudden you hear the organ start the track, which is so
Right.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll just read a little bit from the book here. The Elements Mixers reduces the songs to the minimum amount of instruments possible. At most, only 3 instruments are heard at any one time. With the focus taken away from John's vocal, the delicacy and nuance of these performers is allowed to shine through. And they do. Yeah, again, if you really want to study how these instruments and how these musicians played, this is the disc to listen to. I mean, and it's not that I don't. I really, really love, one of the highlights of the whole set is their stories in the book. And that,
Yes.
I'll get to that as I have some notes on that. But,
Yeah, let's. I mean, go ahead. Any more of the elements that made you happy?
Mind Games was my favorite one. Mind Games, and yeah, anything with Ken Asher, who to me, he's like the MVP of this box set, because they all come out smelling like they're all tremendous musicians. But to me, Ken Asher, his ability, and more importantly, what he has to say, he is the winner and the MVP of this box set. And I'm just so glad that he is getting the attention and recognition that he has so long deserved.
Let's be careful how we say MVP, because we only know we know who the real MVP is when it comes to like Heidi, we love you. Anyways,
we're talking Lennon camp here.
Yeah, Lennon camp. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, another one with Ken Asher, One Day at a Time. That's Ken Asher and Gordon Edwards. Oh, yep. Just absolutely beautiful. All right, so that's the first 3 discs. That's just a couple of highlights. Let us know what your highlights are of disc 2 and 3. Let's take a little break from the CD. Let's talk about the book for a minute, because the book is, I think, these books, you know, whether it's the Lennon camp, the Harrison camp, the McCartney camp, they're all vital to me. I mean, these are very important books. But as we know, Lennon didn't do much promotion. He did, but he didn't really talk a lot about the songs on the album.
No, he did not. Towards the end of his life, in the interviews with David Sheff and with Andy Peebles, right, he talked about Mind Games and a couple of tracks from it. But you're right, he doesn't talk about it much, and that's kind of a good entryway point into the book, into what's put together. Right. At the end of the day, I think Mind Games is just an album. So the team and Sean pulled together a lot of artifacts, a lot of history from the year prior. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in this book about the politics and Nixon and Watergate, and trying to get him deported, and some of the activities that happened in '72, which led into '73. So you're getting a lot of that material that you thought would be in a sometime New York City set, in a Mind Game set, but I think it has to be, because there was really not a whole lot documented here. The album was recorded very quickly in the summer of '73, and then it was off for mixing and everything else. It was not a lot of time, and that's one of the takeaways from all these entries from the musicians, Ken Asher, Spinoza, all these guys. They're like, what was it like working with John Lennon? They did the session and they went home. It wasn't a band in a living sense, as like the Beatles were a band. They were hired guys. They were true pros. Yoko hired them for Feeling the Space. John brought them in for his album. So it's all done very quickly. So that leads to not having a lot of meat and potatoes to throw into a book that you're expecting John to talk about. Tight As, A Seam Is Sen, One Day at a Time, Bring on the Lucy. You've got some quotes here and there from John on some of the songs, but there's not a lot of stuff in here for that.
So enter the musicians that were on the album. Right. You get a lot of, get a lot of great quotes from all the musicians, whether it's Keltner, Ashner, Edwards. That's one of the great things I love about this book is too. But like you said, when you're talking about the chapters, when you break down the chapters down and they're talking about the songs, you get stuff like, in the Assume Sen chapter, you get his diet, right? They're talking about his vegetarian lifestyle diet, and then eventually pescatarian. So I did learn a lot.
There's nothing related to the song, and that's a shame. But I think we always knew that Asima Sen, parentheses, I'm sorry, I mean, was always kind of just John apologizing for what he did the night of the election in '72 when he, in Yoko's presence, took another woman into another room. And you see that Yoko talks about that. That was a bad time for them. And there's pictures of John and Yoko the next day, photographed by Bob Gruen. So I always thought, and I know I read that somewhere, that I See Miss Sen, I'm sorry, was about that event, but yet it's not really discussed in the entry for I See Miss Sen.
You look at his reading habits. When you get to Out the Blue, he's
Right.
reading Carlos Castaneda. I know, right? We can talk about that. Who he's. So if you want to get into that.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to talk. I wanted to read just a quote from Ken Asher in the book.
Yeah,
Ken
go
Asher
for it.
says, quote, I feel my eyes tearing up a little bit listening to Mind Games. Now, the total experience of it, it's good to see how powerful a writer and performer John was. Thank goodness that we have these recordings. It makes me appreciate the company that we were in and what I was feeling then. I just gravitate to Ken Asher's vibe here, and because he was so appreciative, he knew what he was doing. He loved every minute of it. He knew it was special, right? And it's something that I've always felt it was a special record.
Right.
That's resonating right off the words of the page when I read what Ken has to say about working on these sessions. So that's and again, they're all in here. So obviously, some people involved with it are no longer with us. Roy Cicala passed away, so they're pulling archival footage to get quotes from them. So. Michael Brecker, the sax player, he passed away. Rick Marotta and Roy Cicala. So you're getting quotes and memories from them back in the day. Everybody else is a new, fresh review, which is great. Even the girls from Something Different, Christine Wiltshire, Angel Cookley, and Jocelyn Brown. I mean, you're getting quotes from them about what it was like for them being black women from America to sing with John Lennon. That's pretty important stuff to read and contemporize about. One of the best entries I loved reading about was Jimmy Iovine, the engineer, who quietly, and I didn't realize this, it's a name you've always read in sleeve notes, but he actually worked on 4 Lennon albums if you count Pussycats.
Oh, wow.
Mind Games, Walls and Bridges, Rock and Roll, and Pussycats with Harry Nilsson. So, and they have that great, there's a picture of the two of them wearing that great shirt that says Brooklyn on it. In there. So that's a guy who worked with him quite a bit. Let me see if I just pulled it up here. Like, here's these two guys right here, right? Awesome. Both wearing Brooklyn shirts right there. My hometown. I mean, that's awesome. So things like that, when you learn everything about it. Another gentleman in there, by the way, who's not even he's not even working anymore. Guy by the name of Dan Barbario, who actually produced Intervisions by Stevie Wonder. He's not even in the industry anymore. So you're learning, all these people who are just a name on a sleeve or a sleeve note, they all have a story and a connection to a guy who we all love and appreciate. And I think sometimes as fans, we just gloss over and go, oh, it's just a person. Every one of these people have a story unique to tell that's their own story in connection to, in this case, John Lennon, which has not been told before. And I think that is nothing short of amazing to have and read in 2024.
Right. I would say probably my biggest complaint is of the book is just like there's so much information of the previous year that would have been great in a Sometime in New York City book. You know what I mean?
Right. And we know the deal
but you have to fill the pages somehow.
You do, and they're trying to, the narrative that I think that Sean is trying to tell here is like, look, because what happened the year before, this is why my dad kind of went into this chill vibe in 73. Low key. I mean, the Thames and Hudson book above my shoulder there, that has a whole chapter on them moving into the Dakota and a floor plan layout of the Dakota. Like what the apartment was like, where the kitchen was, why they moved there. So all these life events are intertwined with Mind Games, right? John and Yoko eventually not having hard times, but still together. The Utopian national flag, the press conference, all those things going into it. Leon Wild's immigration, staying here. All these stories are pulling together a narrative to make this album presentable for what it was at the time. And I think it does a good job. I think there's a little bit too much of like some of the other stuff, the feminism and things like that.
Right.
I think there's a little bit too much about that. At the end of the day, Mind Games is just a record because there was not all this fanfare at the time when the album came out. It got to number 9, believe it or not.
Right.
And it dropped off. You mentioned promotion. I mean, the only promotion I remember growing up seeing about Mind Games was that legendary beach interview with Elliot Mintz on ABC.
Right, there you go. Right.
Shortly after John had gone out to California because the hair was still cropped, right? So the album had just come out, and that was it. I mean, and obviously the Tony King commercial promoting it with him dressed up as the Queen, but there wasn't a whole lot. There was a Ringo spot for it too. That was a radio commercial, but there wasn't a total, like it wasn't, Walls and Bridges was a much bigger deal next year.
Right. Yeah. So again, I mean, the book is fantastic. Learned a lot. Learned a ton.
Yes.
So please do read the book if you got the 6 CD set.
So going back to, you had mentioned before, I Know, right? I have always felt that song is about Paul, right? So we get to the entry on I Know in the book, okay? And it's all in here, and now all of a sudden we see a memo to Paul and Linda, dated the 7th of February, 72. Again, the year before, right? To Tom's point, he just talks about a lot of this happens because they got together early in 72 for like a little ceasefire, right? That was kind of, because 71 was not really cool.
Right.
Paul and Linda came
over.
70
and 71, both were not so cool.
So beginning of 72, they kind of had a little bit of a truce. And then we have this memo saying, to Paul and Linda from John and Yoko, 7th of February, 72. Right on, brother and sister. Now, what do we do with the Luck of the Irish and Sunday Bloody Sunday? Would you do a Madison Square Garden with Wings, the Plastic Ono Band, and the Stones? We've already talked to Mick. Also, in 3 weeks, we actually go to Ireland, again, possibly with the Stones. Let's forget our past and save some people. Good luck anyway. We're proud of you, love. Sonny and Cher. Oh, Lennon. P.S. No AK at MSG if it's uncool. We know who that is, Alan Klein.
We know who that is, yes.
So I just think that, we'll never know, but I think the song I Know is just an homage to Paul. You hear it at the beginning of the song. What's the opening riff remind you of? I've got a feeling, right?
Yeah.
The years have passed so quickly.
Right.
Come on. I've always felt that way, and maybe this is the Lennon camp just saying we kind of feel the same way. You
never hear him acknowledge it. The only thing that he's ever acknowledged of Paul is that he was right about Alan Klein, right? So this is around that time. I mean, they're slowly starting to, him and George, they're slowly starting to phase Alan Klein out of the picture. I think later that year he's completely out of the picture. So I don't know, February 7. I still think that's a little too early for Paul to want to do anything with John. But yeah, unfortunately, we never got John to say anything whether or not he felt this song was about.
Other than I think Paul. In 1980, he just called it a piece. He called the quote a piece of nothing.
Right. Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It is crazy. So, all right.
Moving on with the discs.
Yeah, it's going back to this Evolution. So for me, this would be Blu-ray 2. Or CD4. Okay. So Evolution 2, not one of my favorites. I just wrote down like three things that I really, really enjoyed. And that was One Day at a Time. You get the sax by Michael Brecker. Fantastic. Intuition. You also get the sax there. So if you want the sax, there it is.
There.
It's there for you. And then the hidden track is I'm the Greatest. And then you hear George and Ringo in that hidden track,
yes,
which is a great plus.
Yeah, and this is the only closest thing to a reunion we had at that time.
Right.
See, now for me, this is the gold star disc in the entire set. I love the Evolution documentary mixes. I can't get enough of them. Between this and like Ken Michaels, between this and the Outtakes, that's where I went right to first. I wish we heard more of I wish they were like, they've done a great job of showing you song from demo form in a home demo on a piano or a guitar, to then a rough mix in the studio, working with musicians, to then a finished master. Do I have complaints that I wish I heard more demo stuff? Yeah, but what they have assembled here is awesome. I mean, since this dropped in the middle of July, this is the disc I have come back to the most. We heard Mind Games when we actually heard about the box coming out back in, I think it was back in May. We got they dropped the Mind Games Evolution documentary, and we heard, anytime we can hear studio chatter of John talking in the studio, it's like gold, right? Because we've never heard it before, right? You get so much of that in this whole set, but especially
in the whole set. Yes, perfect. In the whole set,
get it.
Yes,
but especially in the Evolution documentaries with the breakdowns, him talking to the musicians. I love the early demo of Asimacen, which was just only called Call My Name, and it was only on the 2002 remix. It was a bonus track, and the song was just Call My Name. When it evolves into that, just to see how his brain worked into developing songs, is it's like with Paul. You're fascinated with how a melody could be in place, but the words aren't really right there yet, right? Like "Make Love Not War" becomes Mind Games,
Right.
but it's
Mind
there.
games.
You see it. You see it
Yeah.
developing in his head, coming back to it. One of the coolest things too, and Ken Michaels didn't realize this either. I've always heard this, but he didn't know it either. Was the demo for Only People started out as a song called Sally and Billy, and that
Sally and Billy.
if you listen to the Lost Lennon tapes back in the 80s and 90s, like I did, I heard that right away. And once I heard that, "Oh How We Cried," I'm like, oh, that's just Only People. I knew it right away that even that little bridge right there from a song called Sally and Billy, which was totally different, but the bridge was the same as Only People. And I was like, oh, this is great. They included it here. They didn't include, there's another take of Sally and Billy, which has John playing it to a drum machine, which I thought they were going to include in the Evolution thing, but they didn't. That's what I was talking about. I wish they included a little bit more. Another highlight, "You Are Here." Hearing the early fragment, it was just called 3,000 Miles. That was awesome. Out the Blue, another funny moment. Again, the studio thing. John is calling out Jim Keltner. He goes, "Jim, can you just play this? Like a drummer. Forget forget the vocals. Can you just play it like a drummer?" That was in the middle of a breakdown of Out the Blue. I love that.
Right.
And then my personal favorite is Intuition, because I never knew Intuition was going to be that's always like a pop bubbly song. It's funky, and with that first minute, it's like something off a Plastic Ono Band. It's like a dirge. It's totally not like the song it became. "My intentions are good, and leave me intuition. It takes me for a while." The demo, the Evolution mix of that was mind blowing to me. I'm like, where has this been? That's not been on any bootleg anywhere ever. I was mind blown by that when I first heard it. A little disappointment with Meat City, because Meat City, as we know, started life as a song called "Shoe Shine," and you didn't get that in this Evolution documentary mix. It's how the song started, and Chip told us that as well too. So that was a little bit of a misstep, but overall, God, do I love the Evolution documentary mixes. I can't get enough of them. I really can't.
No, it is good stuff. I mean, it just, unfortunately, that might be one of the ones that I don't go back to as often.
To each his own.
We're very happy with it.
Yep,
Ross calzone, as they say.
That's right. Now, Raw Studio Mixes is disc 5. A lot of that material has been on bootlegs. The version of Mind Games that is on that was I had heard that before, but now obviously we're hearing it much more cleaned up state. I enjoy that just as much. All of it, really. I mean, everything. Was there any highlights from the Raw Studio Mixes that caught your ear in terms of material?
Yeah, I mean, the One Day at a Time without the vocal overdubs, that was quite fascinating. I've come to realize that I cannot listen to Out the Blue without something different.
Really?
and then that's what they present with these raw mixes. Something different is not on Out the Blue.
You're not hearing the ahs and stuff in the background.
Exactly. I will never listen to Out the Blue. I mean, I'm fascinated with I'm fascinated with the instrumentation and all that and the mixes that he's done. But I have to have something different when I listen to Out the Blue.
You like the backing vocals of something different on Out the Blue. Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
I prefer them. I prefer just John on that.
Yeah. See, no, I gotta have the complete. Whether it's the 2002 or this version, I have to have it. Or the original LP, whatever you want to say. I have to have something different on Out the Blue when I listen to it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the whole album again, proper, start to finish. But most of this material was available on boot before. So most of this was familiar to me before. But it was just now available on better quality. And so, I mean, again, to me, Evolution, Outtakes, and Ultimate Mix is like the top tier for me. So you ready to move on to the Outtakes?
Yeah, Outtakes. And the great thing about the Outtakes too is lyrically, there's sometimes you get different lyrics, and then you get that with Mind Games, right? You get "Love is the answer. It's mirrored in the wind.
Yes.
Love is a flower. The power grows within." So sometimes you get
never heard that.
Right, exactly.
That was take 7. The outtake on that is take 7. We never heard that before. We never knew there were different words. This is what we live for.
Right, and then like you said, the chatter, right? You at the beginning of Tight As, you hear John, look, we ain't got past 1959, all right? Yeah,
right.
I mean, let's keep it in the, let's keep that rockabilly or whatever in the 50s.
Yep.
That's what I really like. That's really I really
how about during I See Miss N, too much motorbike makes Jack a dull boy. Right? Just randomly saying.
Yes.
Like,
just
awesome.
randomly saying stuff. This is the kind of the minutia that we like to hear.
We like to hear. And then, of course, they include the actual, you get the Declaration of Utopia, you get the speech. So we don't get the 6 seconds of silence. We actually get the press conference as the outtake from the, I guess it was April 1st, 73. So that was cool they included that. But everything, I love hearing the, I'm not sure if it's what John's playing on Intuition on the outtake. I don't know if he's on the, I don't know. It's him and Ken Asher. I got to look real quick, but you hear it a little more.
Possible, yeah.
You hear it more on this one. He is He is playing the clavinet. Yeah. So on the outtake of Intuition, take 12, you hear that's a little more present on this. And that's John playing it. That's and you get the actual takes again for an album recorded so damn quickly. Basically, end of July, first week of August of '73.
Yeah.
You've got 19 takes of One Day at a Time. 17 of Bring on the Lucy, 26 takes of Intuition, 38 takes of Out the Blue, 19 of Only People, 24 of I Know, only 6 takes of You Are Here, and 18 out of Meat City. 10 out of Tight As, 3 for I See Miss N, and 7 out of Mind Games. So 11 tracks recorded very, very quickly. In the span of like a week in August of '73. Yeah. Done.
And then when to your point too with the Utopian stuff, it's labeled differently here. It's a Declaration of Utopia for the outtake. So people might be like, oh, what's different on there? And like you said, it's the press conference.
It's the press conference. Yeah. So and then of course we've got that's the outtake. So you have dived into you've gotten all the Easter eggs. Now you've listened to them all. I'm the Greatest, Rock and Roll People. You've heard them all, right?
Fantastic stuff.
What's your highlight? Because I haven't even touched my Blu-ray yet.
Yeah, no, I Am the Greatest, fantastic. And then You Are Here. For me, those are the 2 highlights for the hidden tracks.
Okay.
But
how about some of the other stuff?
Okay, so thanks to our friend Bidley Tone. How you doing, my friend?
Bidley Tone, man. Love you, babe.
Tone. Yes. Listen, so he gave us that wonderful video on how to find some of the bonus stuff on the Blu-ray. Mm-hmm. Well, on when you put in Blu-ray 1, okay, and Mind Games is playing, you see the image of the video Mind Games. You have to play that twice. Okay, and then let it play twice, and then it goes to the footage of we see Elton John in the background. What was his name? Sam for the Queen dress up in the promotional.
Tony
King. Yeah, thank you. Tony King doing all that. So it's about 10, 11 minutes of just outtakes of that. You hear a lot of people laughing in the background. You see Elton John. Just a lot of fun. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And
that's actually the first time that John and Elton John met. Was from that day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
And then another one of the weird things is as an image when you see the Universal logo come up, okay, when you see the image of Universal, you have to hit the up, left, bottom, and right arrows on your remote really quickly, okay, and then you get the video footage that Tony Cox filmed of
1970
John
of the Make Love Night War, black and white, short hair.
Yeah, right, yeah.
See, this has got some boomers really pissed off because they're like, I just want to be able to hear the music. I don't want to have to, dance sideways, on my head 10 times over up and down the stairs to hear the damn music.
Well, it's just not boomers. I mean, you see a lot of multi-generations not kind of really wanting to, have to work at finding all of these
No, I think it's, but
Easter eggs.
that's part of the, that's I mean, there's enough
But
in there
that's
to
the thing.
keep
When
you.
you see mind games, then you think, okay, well, there's there's gonna be some mind games in here in this set, and you notice that with unboxing the cube, right? I mean, you have to have
Yes.
playing mind games of putting it all back together, taking it
Even
apart.
to put it back in a nice little box shaped thing, it's a game. So the
Right,
whole thing is crazy when you think about it. Marketing genius to do
right.
it that way and play a game with all that stuff that's in there. One of the things I checked out that's on the vinyl was the little on the black translucent kind of glow in the dark vinyl. There was this track called Mellotron Magic. It's like 11
Yes,
minutes of just hearing a
right. That's
Mellotron.
another one of the hidden tracks.
It's
Yeah,
a hidden track. I played
yeah.
that because I did play the whole vinyl and I heard that. And Chip again was right. I was probably just a one and done listen. It's just the Mellotron fiddling around
Right.
for 11 minutes. But okay, so with the vinyl, again, I got this and then I had to leave for Italy, so I didn't really get a chance to. I unboxed it, but I didn't get a chance to really study it or even look at it. So got back from Italy and then I'm like, wait a minute. Here's more games, okay? So you've got the 4 double LPs in here. The first one, which is the Ultimate Mixes and the Outtakes, which is just the proper, the first one with the Ultimate, okay? Standard cover, John
Right.
in the foreground where he's supposed to be, Yoko in the back, okay? Second LP, okay, the Elemental and Elements, okay? Looks kind of the same, right? But John's just a little bit further back, okay? Then you get to the third LP, okay, which is the Evolution Mixes, okay? Now he's way in the back. He's a lot further back. Okay, and then we get to the last LP, okay, which is the Raw Studio Mixes. Gone.
Gone. And Yoko.
And Yoko too.
Yeah.
So very, very, very interesting. I missed it even when I unboxed the freaking thing. But these 4 sets of records is why I bought the Cube, and I have no regrets getting it. None. I'll find wall space in here to hang that Liverpool poster, not the Tokyo one. No offense, peace and love, but I'm just gonna hang the Liverpool one.
So no buyer's remorse for you.
None whatsoever. Zero.
Fantastic.
Zero.
Fantastic. If you got the Cube, let us know what you think of the Cube. Let us know what you think of the 6 CD set package, because I love the uniformity, right, of the previous 3 box sets. It's all the same.
And that's one bad thing about
that's
one bad thing about the Cube, because if I take
Right.
that out and put it on the shelf, I can't keep the Cube together. And that sucks.
Well, you got your crates and your cubes behind you. I mean, obviously that keeps it's going to keep the floor warm in the wintertime.
Well, maybe the Lennon estate will send me one, and I can just put that one on the shelf and leave the Cube intact.
Oh, there you go. Maybe, you never know, right? Come on, send the guy. All he wants is 1 copy. Come on, send him.
I got the Cube, man. Come on.
Right.
And I didn't sell mine back either.
Hey. Let him tell that story, not you.
What story?
Yeah. Anyways, Andy, anything coming up you got going? Actually, you know what? Final thoughts on the set.
Final thoughts. It's the go-to listen. If I want to hear just the album proper, I'm going to put the Ultimate Mixes on. But I'm being honest, if I'm in a mind games mode, I'm diving into the Outtakes and the Evolution Mixes first, and that is my first takeaway from this. Joyous, love it. The music's great, but again, the stories, the stories and the personal stories from all the musicians help bring this period back to life a little bit. That's why when we just talked about it during the show, there wasn't so much from John because he didn't talk about it that much, but the musicians that survived and can look back on it, that to a period that was kind of just like wham bam, thank you man, record the album, put it out, and it's gone. They're bringing it to life now, and for a record that I've loved most of my life since I was a young kid, to now have these firsthand anecdotes from Spinoza and Keltner and everybody else that has, and Gordon Edwards and Ken Asher, especially Ken Asher, make me appreciate and love mind games even more so in 2024 than I have done in the last 30 years.
Right. Listen, we're not set up for the Atmos mix, so I really can't say, no. Yeah, I don't think any you can't acknowledge the Atmos mix. I hope everybody who does have an Atmos mix set up, they enjoy it. But for me, right now, I'm going to listen to the Blu-ray. I'm going to put my Bose headphones on. I'm going to sit back and relax and enjoy this album because it's fantastic. This mix, saxophone aside, and we're going to have more horrors in the future, I'm sure, with the saxophone.
Oh yeah.
But this is fantastic. I'm still not going to discard the 2002 mix,
No.
because I still absolutely enjoy that as well. But I'm still going to cherish and really go back and listen to this ultimate mix, because again, for the musicianship alone, and you're really getting to hear everything that's going on. I think they did a masterful job separating the instruments and really bringing them out into the forefront with John's voice again. This is just a fantastic job from Paul and Sean. Another winner. Can't wait for the next one.
Well, let's just wait a little bit so our wallets can cool down and we can digest everything that's in here.
Fair enough.
We can wait.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, because you know what? We don't know how many color vinyls we're going to have to buy with Paulie's new record.
Wait.
If we get a new announcement soon, hopefully we get an announcement.
And based on the Lennon camp, I mean, they're not turning around these ultimate sets every year. Okay,
Correct.
These are done. These are done well, 3 years at 3 year intervals, 18, 21, and 24. So we can expect probably the next something. In the next. I mean, who knows
It also depends on how, if Sean wants to get out and create new music again, kind of almost something like, Danny has just released new music.
Yeah.
So who knows when we're going to, who knows when we're going to get, another archive set from the George camp.
Who knows? But I would think my money is probably on Double Fantasy next, not Walls and Bridges.
I really would think that. I think he wants to get out the Double Fantasy before, unfortunately, hopefully, we don't want Yoko to pass away anytime soon, but I think he's going to want to put Double Fantasy out, maybe even Milk and Honey out before Yoko unfortunately leaves this.
But I think that would be the best bet guess, I would think, moving forward. But I'm looking forward to the fall. See, the fall for me is like Lennon mode, right? Because his birthday's in October, December we know. So as we kind of march our way into the fall and the leaves turn, it gets a little cooler, I will be able to dive into this a lot more, because I'm weird like that. Like I have to be like seasonal with some of my listening habits. So when we get a nice fall day, I could really kind of lose myself into like a lot of this set when I could just put it on and focus in on it. But I'm so happy that it's here, and I have no regrets, and I hope nobody else does out there either who got it.
Right. All right. Anything else going on with you, Andy, before we sign off?
Nothing else. That's it. All quiet on the Western Front until later in the year.
Okay, excellent. As for Talk More Talk, I think we're going to look at this baby right here. This is the Revival '69, the latest DVD involving John and Yoko and Plastic Ono Band at the Toronto concert, which was Live Peace Toronto released in 1969.
Toronto, yes.
Right. So we're going to take a look at that. Very good documentary. If you don't have it, it's on Amazon. Check it out. Andy, did you happen to pick it up?
I did not yet. No.
Okay.
I did not. I will though. I will.
Yep, I believe you.
You guys also have your Rack Our Brains show from the fest as well as
absolutely,
as a show too.
As a show as well.
Someone might have recorded for you.
Maybe he did a lot of recordings in Chicago, so we really got to acknowledge and say.
I hope the sound was okay, people. I hope the sound was okay. Hey, our Broad Street one people like, so no.
So far, no complaints. No complaints. So yes, thank you everybody that commented and liked the Broad Street episode. Again, when we're in a different environment, right, like these rooms, Andy, his hands are tied to an extent, right? I mean, you're only as good as the audio setup or whatever. I mean, sometimes we won, sometimes we had bad luck, but you know what? Again, it's a free show, and
don't watch or listen if you don't like it. It's as simple as that, as Macca says.
Well, yeah, true. Unfortunately, stuff like that happens, and you got to take it or leave it.
We had a blast doing it, and our fans and viewers that were not there. Already in less than 24 hours, I've watched nearly 500 people have watched it, and we have 30 comments. Right. So I think we did a good job. So yes.
We did a bang-up job. We did a fantastic job. Anyways, like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, Two Legs, a Paul McCartney Podcast. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Two Legs Podcast. email us with any suggestions you might have. We've got shirts, we've got hoodies, we've got buttons. If you want one, give us an email at twolegspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll hook you up. And I also have a question. If we're thinking about maybe even starting a Patreon account, we don't know yet. It's up. Let us know if you would help support the show. I mean, I'm looking to get a new microphone soon. I might need a little help. A little help with that. So let us know what you're thinking. Yeah, a little help from our friends here. So let us know if you would help and like to contribute to help the show out. So Andy, thank you once again. Hanging out with you. We're still slowly working on part 3 of the Paul and George relationship show. Hopefully that'll be out soon. And other than that,
we might have a guest who may or may not happen to be a DJ on Sirius XM join us for a future episode in the next month or two. So stay tuned for that.
We may have another drummer who was a Wings member on the show.
That's right.
So hopefully that'll happen as well. So for Andy, I'm Tom Hunyadi saying have a great day and a beautiful night. Take care.
Free the people now.
Listening to Two Legs, a Paul McCartney podcast, hosted by Tom Hunyadi and Andy Nichols, with musical contributions by Dylan